Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. Look, if there's one thing millions of American retirees are tracking with absolute laser focus right now, it's the latest inflation reports coming out of Washington, D.C. And honestly, why wouldn't you? Those numbers directly impact your wallet. They literally dictate how much your monthly Social Security checks might go up next year. So today, we're cutting through all the noise. We're going to break down the early forecast for the 2027 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, the COLA. No rumors, no hype, just the hard data.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the Explainer. We'll start with the early 2027 COLA forecast, look at how COLA is actually calculated, and then estimate your monthly benefit. After that, we'll cover the Medicare deduction factor, run through some important dates to remember, and finally, talk about protecting yourself from scams.
All right, Section 1, the early 2027 COLA forecast.
So, recent breaking news has totally shifted the expectations for next year's benefits. Back on August 12th, the government dropped the July 2026 Consumer Price Index report, and it showed overall consumer prices went up by 3.4% over the previous 12 months. Now, interestingly, that's actually a slight dip from the 3.5% annual increase we saw back in June. Energy and gas went down a bit, but food and shelter, they ticked up slightly. But it's this 3.4% number that really started generating all those breaking news headlines and got analysts frantically updating their financial models.
And this brilliantly illustrates how expectations have officially shifted. Just compare it to last year's official 2026 COLA, which was, 2.8%. After that July report hit, analysts rapidly updated their forecasts. Now, they're projecting the 2027 COLA to land somewhere in the low to mid 3% range, specifically a low of 3.2% and a high of about 3.6%. If these forecasts hold true, we're looking at a 2027 adjustment that's noticeably higher than what we saw in 2026.
Moving on to Section 2, how COLA is actually calculated.
Now, we kind of need to pump the brakes a second here. Those big general inflation numbers you see on the news, they don't actually tell the whole story. By law, the Social Security Administration relies on a really specific metric called the CPI-W. That stands for the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Quite a mouthful, right? But instead of looking at broad national inflation that includes stuff like luxury goods or corporate expenses, this index zeroes in strictly on the rising cost of everyday goods and services. It's the exact benchmark the government uses to measure working expenses and figure out your benefit bump.
And get this, they don't just look at a single month of data either. It is a very strict three-step process. Step 1, track the July CPI-W. Step 2, track August. And Step 3, track September. The government basically takes the average of those three specific months and compares it to the previous year. So, what does that mean for us? It means the July data we just talked about is literally only the first piece of the puzzle. The final 2027 COLA is absolutely not official yet, because the August and September data could easily pull that final number up or down.
Let's jump to Section 3, estimating your monthly benefits.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing what these percentages actually look like in your bank account. Let's do some quick hypothetical math using a middle-of-the-road 3.5% forecast. Say your current base benefit is $1,500. A 3.5% increase adds about $52.50, bringing your new total to $1,552.50. If you get $2,000 a month right now, that same percentage gives you a $70 bump, taking you up to $2,070. And if your base is $2,500, you're looking at an extra $87.50. Obviously, the exact dollar amount that hits your account depends entirely on whatever your current base benefit is right now.
Actually, before you start mentally spending that extra cash, keep this in mind. A Social Security COLA doesn't automatically mean your state, private, or other federal pensions are going to increase by that exact same percentage. Different retirement plans have completely different sets of rules. So if you're pulling from both Social Security and a pension, definitely don't assume you're getting a blanket increase across the whole shebang.
Next up, Section 4, the Medicare deduction factor.
Okay, this is absolutely crucial because it directly impacts your final payout. There's a very real stark difference between your gross COLA increase and your net bank deposit. The gross increase, that's the big, flashy percentage you'll hear the Social Security Administration announce. But if you have Medicare Part B premiums deducted directly from your Social Security checks, just like millions of other Americans do, your net payment is going to be affected by rising healthcare costs. So even if there's this robust COLA increase on paper, the actual cash that hits your bank account might be a bit smaller once those Medicare premiums are taken out.
Moving right along to Section 5, important dates to remember.
Let's move to the calendar and see how this builds. We want to know exactly when to expect official news and, more importantly, when to expect the money. So July is when the data collection begins. October? That's the massive milestone. That's when the September data comes in and the official SSA announcement is finally made. Now, the actual increase becomes legally effective for December 26 benefits. But here's the catch. Because Social Security pays a month behind, your first legally increased check won't actually arrive until January 2027. It's so important to keep this timeline in mind just so you're not checking your mailbox for a bigger check in August just because you saw a forecast on the news.
And finally, Section 6, protecting yourself from scams.
So, the crucial point here is that unfortunately, whenever there's buzz around government payouts, scammers come out of the woodwork. Listen closely. COLA adjustments are completely automatic for eligible beneficiaries. You do not need to log onto the official Social Security website and file some special application. If someone calls or emails you claiming you need to hand over your Social Security number to unlock an increase, no way. That is 100% a scam. If they ask for your bank info or demand an activation fee, scam. The government is never going to ask you to pay a fee or jump through hoops to get your annual adjustment. Period.
To wrap this whole explainer up, our core message today is basically this. The July inflation data gives us a really great early look. And honestly, a 3.2% to 3.6% increase looks pretty possible. That would be fantastic compared to last year. But you absolutely have to treat every single early forecast as an estimate, not a guarantee. We are still waiting on that August and September data. Rely strictly on the official notices from the SSA when they drop in October. And please, try to avoid making any major financial decisions based solely on summer rumors.
Which leaves me with one final question for you to ponder as you look over your own retirement finances. Are you budgeting based on hard facts or unofficial forecasts? Right now, patience is the name of the game. Stay informed through official channels, make sure you hit subscribe so you get the actual updates when the final data is released, and as always, keep learning.